Hare Krishna, Manidhara, please accept my respect for these answers. Glory to Shri Prabhupada, glory to Shri Guru Dev. Sorry, my good brother Sadi Prabhu is having a challenge with his network and a system. So we're on live YouTube now, so I'm going to share the screen and you can start while he tries to fix it. Can you hear me?
Hare Krishna, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I don't have the video from you.
Yeah, I'm actually on the transit, but Sahadev Prabhu is supposed to be hosting, but he's trying to fix his system. Meanwhile, in order not to delay the class, I'm going to put the verse on the screen so you can start.
So you can hear me?
I can hear you clearly.
Yeah, it's okay.
So I'll put the verse on the screen and we'll start while Sahadev Prabhu is fixing his.
I cannot hear you very clearly. Can you hear me? Are we connected?
Yes, Prabhuji, we can hear you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. We apologize for the hitches we're going through now, but I think it's resolved. So we're going to put the verse on the screen.
Yeah. I don't have your video. I can hear you, but...
Yeah, we'll fix that.
Okay. So just let me know when we start.
Yes, you may start now, Prabhuji.
We can start, okay?
Yes.
So first of all, thank you again that I can be at least in this form in Africa. That's very special for me. Considering that maybe I will never come to this place in this lifetime, but it's wonderful. So I was asked today, we read something from Srimad Bhagavatam, that's from the 3rd canto, chapter 1, text 35 and 36. As this text 35 has no purport. So text 35 is Ape svitanya chanijata nijatma daivam ananya vritya samanuvrataya hridika satyatmaja charudeshna gadadhaya shvashti charanti saumya. Also Bhavan, others such as Hridika, Charudesna, Gada, and the son of Satyabhama, who accept Lord Krishna as the soul of the self and thus follow his path without deviation, are they well? Text 36. Api svadurbhyam vijayachyutabhyam dharmena dharma paripati setum Duryodhano tapyatas yat samvyayam samrajya lakshmya vijayano vritya. Also let me inquire whether Maharaj Yudhishthira is now maintaining the kingdom according to religious principles and with respect for the path of religion. Formerly, Duryodhana was burning with envy because Yudhishthira was being protected by the arms of Krishna and Arjuna, as if they were his own arms. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj Yudhishthira was the emblem of religion. When he was ruling his kingdom with the help of Lord Krishna and Arjuna, the opulence of his kingdom surpassed all imaginations of the opulence of the kingdom of heaven. His actual arms were Lord Krishna and Arjuna, and thus he surpassed everyone's opulence. Duryodhana, being envious of this opulence, planned so many schemes to put Yudhishthira into difficulty. And at last, the battle of Kurukshetra was brought about. After the battle, of Kurukshetra, Maharaj Yudhishthira was again able to rule his legitimate kingdom, and he reinstated the principles of honor and respect for religion. That is the beauty of a kingdom ruled by a pious king like Maharaj Yudhishthira. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swam Dinamne Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pushkatya. So here once again we have the chance when we open Srila Prabhupada's books to get a glimpse of sanity. That's the beauty of Prabhupada's books. As when we open the books, we are in reality. Generally, as when we close the books, then we are surrounded by illusion. It is a perfect illusion. It is also perfectly created, but it is a desire of a devotee to actually increase his sanity and abstain from insanity. So here we have once again Srila Prabhupada praising the beauty of monarchy. Prabhupada said, I just heard a lecture, Prabhupada said, nothing can be broadcasted and nothing can be actually created without a leader. Whatever the leadership may be, without a leader, it's not possible. And we see it when something, even in a political field, and when something in the history of mankind, something more significant happened, it was always embodied by a leader. I'm now broadcasting to Africa. Well, I guess there's nobody who doesn't know that the situation in Africa was very much changed by the presence of Mr. Mandela. It is even he actually copied to some degree the destiny of Mr. Gandhi. He was actually imprisoned, and even then he emerged or was empowered, you could say, to be able to unite massively lots of people, and they followed him. This doesn't come by chance. This is always, we know that without Krishna's permission, nothing of this sort can happen. However, Srila Prabhupada, even in connection to Mr. Gandhi, whom he actually very much appreciated of being a good man, having actually a nice motivation, and Gandhi was known, he was the lover of Bhagavad Gita, but Prabhupada said he didn't understand. He took Bhagavad Gita as a book propagating non-violence, which is not true. And he was involved in politics. Prabhupada actually was amazing. He was warning us not to get actively involved with politics. However, he said, Krishna commented, Krishna got to some degree involved. We know that he was part of the peace talks before the battle of Kurukshetra. And so we can also comment from Vedic point of view, from Krishna's point of view. Therefore, we have here also, once again in Bhagavatam, glorious kings being praised who were definitely politically active and who assumed leadership over in a dimension we can today hardly imagine. This was Raja Rishis. These kings were actually combined rishis and rajas. This means actually there were sages in the garbs of kings. And of course, we don't find this today very much. Generally, I had personal experience to be in connection with some politicians who actually were very interested in Krishna consciousness. Amazingly, to the degree they were more interested in Krishna consciousness, to that degree they actually lost their political career. It is actually not a chance, because the system as this set up today is largely atheistic, and as a devotee, the more you become devotee, the more you cannot identify with the atheistic policies being broadcasted and established. Srila Prabhupada didn't make any secret from that. He was very open, very bold. And of course, we cannot copy Srila Prabhupada, but we can follow. There's a difference between copying and following. So here we have Srimad Bhagavatam, great Vidura, asking about the welfare. We know the history is that Vidura is actually an amazing personality. He appeared as a Kshatriya in this very same dynasty, closely connected to Duryodhana, closely connected to that. And because he was actually a great devotee, he knew that being opposed to Krishna's will and being on the other side of the battlefield, ultimately can only lead to a disaster. So we know that Vidura tried to convince even Duryodhana, he convinced Dhritarashtra, tried to preach to them, don't do this, don't oppose Krishna like this. And he was actually considered a traitor. He was considered actually a defector, and ultimately kicked out of the palace. It is described, it's a wonderful scene, how he put his bow in a corner and left the palace. In this way, he was not participating in a battlefield of Kurukshetra. Being also a great rishi, he came after the Kurukshetra and inquired, who is left? What happened? He was the one who actually preached to Dhritarashtra finally. You see, I told you, if you fight against Krishna's will, you will lose everything. Now your 100 sons are dead, everything is lost, and you even live now from the mercy of those who defeated you. What could be more embarrassing? So actually, he inspired Dhritarashtra to leave ultimately for the forest and become a yogi and live in a you could say in a dignified way. So all this is exemplary, and we may think today, yeah, those were the days. Where do we find today a Raja Rishi king? Where do we find opportunity to live according to Vedic principles as such? I can assure everybody that already in my little lifetime, being 72 years old, I saw such a changes happening, coming from the 50s, 60s of the previous century. In Europe alone, such a changes, most of them were not for the good, they were for the worse. But in principle, things can change. Yeah. Like right now, I'm sitting in Czech Republic in my car. This would be unthinkable. This would be unthinkable 1980. Impossible. This was a communistic country. If I would sit in a car like this and speak about Krishna, I will be caught by police. There will be police parking next to me, and that will be end of my preaching. Yeah. What to speak of having an international media zooming to Africa? Nobody could ever imagine anything like this is possible. Not even in their wildest dreams. Yeah. I couldn't imagine that myself. And suddenly, in a year 2000, I was standing in the very same country I was born on the street, and I could distribute Prabhupada's books. Just like that. And you know what happened to me? People were standing queues asking for these books. That was directly after the fall down of communism. Because they were so excited. These books were so forbidden before, and now they were all available, and they came from the West, and everybody was so excited. Of course, now you don't feel that excitement. Now they're excited to take a loan from the bank and get a house and have an economic development. That happens, yes, sure. People always reach out for the material thing. Conditioned souls are like that. So as a devotees, only in the last 50 years, what is so changing? Well, that tells me things can change again very quickly. Yeah. Yeah, like I don't know Africa, I never was there, but it was always considered a continent where you don't go and preach philosophy, you know? No, yeah, not at all. Nowadays you can. And there are many learned people in Africa and many educated people and all this. This also changed. This was not like this before. So the appearance of a king, of a leader, it is possible. Krishna can send, actually, an empowered person. He can arrange. We know that without Krishna's will, not even blade of grass can move. Now, what is our position? Our position is to be always ready. Srila Prabhupada exemplified that even he was entering, you could call it hopeless situations. Actually, Prabhupada himself, he said, I was thinking when I go in the West, when I sit down and I just mention the word Krishna, and I will speak about the principles which are necessary to follow to become Krishna conscious, they will tell me, Swamiji is very nice, but please go home again. Prabhupada didn't believe that there could be even an audience for what he had to say. But he had a firm faith in the instruction of his spiritual master. And Prabhupada said, even nobody would came, I would preach anyway. And he did that in the beginning. He was preaching, when you hear the early recordings of his preaching, he was preaching to a completely unqualified audience, unqualified in the terms that actually nobody was ready to follow what he says. And then suddenly some young people, appeared on a scene, and they start to listen what he's saying. Not only that, but they got inspired to follow what he said. And that, I have to say, I'm coming from the generation of hippies, of anarchistic people who were immensely inspired not to follow any authority. Yeah, what to speak some king, some kingdom. That was the past, and generally, like here in Europe, people had only bad experience with the king and kingdom throughout the Middle Ages and all this. There was ferocious wars taking place just for territories. And people had a very bad experience, like in Czech Republic, which is in the center of Europe. It was actually the center of church, of the Catholic Church, before even Vatican was built. So it is a big tradition here. It's a very, very old history in this country. It's like the whole country is like a museum. There are many, many old historical monuments. And Czechs are considered practically the most atheistic people in Europe. This is not true, actually. They are just averse to be exploited, even in the name of religion, in the name of politics. They're very suspicious. But devotees here preaching, they have a good time. They are not, devotees are not actually facing any severe organized opposition whatsoever. One can distribute books here. We are very popular here for distributing prasadam. There's so many Hare Krishna restaurants. There's, the whole country is full of this. So there is a field for preaching everywhere. We find it in everywhere you go. There will be people who can listen. and even they will be for a while not people who can listen, then we preach anyway. So a devotee is constant in a mood of preparation. We have to be ready. Just imagine you wake up tomorrow morning, and then they will ask you to give a lecture in some parliament. Yeah. Actually, there are I just recently heard a speech, I think, in the United Nations by a very young politician from Salvador, from Ecuador, I think. He was preaching. He was thinking, all you European Union and all this NATO, and this will all go to hell if you don't gain the blessing of God. He said it very open. I was shocked. Then one devotee told me, yeah, of course. This man studying in Oxford, in London, even being from Ecuador or whatever, he was a friend of a devotee, and and he got the whole picture, the whole Krishna consciousness. So you can hear here and there, it will surface. They are, as we know from Bhagavatam, they are godly people, they are demons, and then there are innocent people considered, that's the majority, which don't have the power to decide actually. They are influenced. Everywhere I travel, I hear the same. Most of the people know something is very, very wrong in a society. They even know we are not going to be happy like this. We are not going to have some peace like that. But they say, well, what can I do? I have to survive. I have my family here. I have this. What can I do? And this is what Prabhupada changed. He showed us you can do. But of course, how do we change things? Well, first we have to change ourselves. And that's actually the biggest job. Without changing ourselves, how can we change anybody? People follow. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, whatever big man is doing, the smaller man will follow. People follow examples. What is the example of a devotee? Nah, most of us, no, we don't have the money to move people around by dint of money. We don't have the police, military, of anything of this. So what can we actually do? Well, we can individually approach people and we can show them how our lives improved by dint of Krishna consciousness. People will notice that. This is essentially those who go out and distribute Prabhupada's books. They can experience it every day. People will naturally take shelter in somebody who is always enthusiastic, always happy, satisfied, tolerant, yeah, and motivated by something they never saw before. He is motivated, actually, he is very busy and simultaneously not attached. People get confused. They think, what is this? Who is this man? I can tell you from my own personal little experience. When you get older, it gets even more funny. When I was 18 years old, I was on the street standing with Prabhupada's books. So many people argued with me. What do you want? What are you doing here? Yeah, nobody wants to listen what I have to say. Who is you? I told them, family life is illusion. They said, are you crazy? What do you know about family life? You are 18 years old kid. You know nothing. So it was difficult. I knew I have something so valuable, so good. But everybody was opposing. I was really sometimes upset. I was going, they are all demons. No, they are not all demons. They are simply in bodily consciousness. Now I am 72 years old. You know what happened to me? Nobody argues with me anymore. It's almost boring. I like some conflict, some argument, some discussion. Nobody wants to discuss with me anything anymore. People from the street, that depends where you are. It doesn't happen to me in Nordic countries because I travel all the time. But like here in Slavian countries, this is Czech Republic and all Eastern countries and all this, it happens. People are much more, you could call it sentimental, yeah. But they are much more personal. So It happens to me that people just come to me on the street and talk to me. Yesterday I met a man walking on a path with a dog. First of all, the first one who was interested in me was the dog. So when the dog was interested, the man got interested. That's how it works very often here. The dog likes me, the man likes me also. And then and the man started to talk to me. Oh, yeah, blah, 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 just blah, blah, blah. Nothing substantial. But within 10 minutes, we were on something much more important. Meaning of life, where are we going? And he fully agreed. He said, we are not happy, isn't it? This is a miserable world. And it was so easy to transmit to him the basic points about Krishna consciousness. So we have to get ready. We have to never lose the idea to become ready and pray to Krishna. Yeah, as Prabhupada is praying, make me dance, use me. Nimitta matram. Krishna says to Arjuna, you have to become a tool. You have to become a useful tool in this battle. And that's actually a success of a devotee, when Krishna starts to use us. Why is Maharaj Yudhishthira being praised? Why are all the Raja Rishis praised? Why are all these even names of all these personalities being mentioned? Because they were all connected to Krishna. And they were all, one way or another, part of Krishna's pastime. And they were, one way or another, useful to Krishna. That's what makes us important. Otherwise, we are just people stuck with our bodies for a little while. It's so short, this lifetime, it goes very fast. Now we are sitting here looking at these mobile phones or whatever and the camera, and we look like, oh yeah, life is going on. Nah, in my lifetime already, I lost so many friends, so many people I used to know, so many devotees I used to know. Where are they now? On a certain age, you realized, we are all going. And I wonder sometimes myself, I can still look in this phone and talk. This is amazing, actually. Today, for me, this is an amazing day because I'm still alive. I didn't die, and I can talk to Africa. It's amazing, because tomorrow it doesn't have to be like that. It can change. So we should utilize the time. We should utilize the momentum and always be ready. This is a preaching movement. This is, sorry to say, maybe some people won't become happy when they hear this, but this is not just some church institution. Prabhupada started a missionary preaching movement. That means if you got something so nice, give it to others, in one way or another, in some form, transmit it to others. This is Prabhupada's movement, is based on that spirit. As Prahlad Maharaj is saying in Bhagavatam, I don't care for myself. I don't care for my liberation. But what about these rascals who are sitting in these big cities, rotting away, and actually hoping for something they will never get? This now we are living kind of in a phase where people got very excited by economic development. I don't know in Africa at all what happens, but here in Europe, it is evident that many, many years since the Second World War, no major physical conflict happened. There was no really some major war. Otherwise, the history of Europe is such that every 40 years, some major thing happened. Yeah, some destruction. So then came creation, some destruction. Then came creation. That's how it works in the material world. But here, now we have a relatively long period. There was not some massive destruction. And because the economy, everything is in a mode of passion, of course, the demons have a problem with this. So they are seeking actually destruction to be able to make some more creation. Yeah. Prabhupada gave actually a very detailed description how the demons even work. He said they create a problem And then they emerge on the scene like the saviors, like with some solution to the problem. In this way, they constantly maintain the regime that people depend on them. Now, Krishna consciousness, of course, based on a very different principle. We depend on Krishna. That's all. Nobody else. We depend on Krishna. So this is sometimes considered very disturbing. Yeah. So, but we can see it, and I meet people from economical field, people who are more aware about the workings of the society, and they all know that we are at the dawn of something major. Something major has to happen. Some cleanup, because economically spoken, politically spoken, things are kind of constipated. They cannot go on like this. But as a devotees, well, what can we do? We spread Prabhupada's books, that we should do. We chant Hare Krishna. We try to stay connected to Krishna by any means, under any conditions, and see what chances Krishna gives, what he gives us, what a field he opens, so we can transmit Krishna consciousness to others. It's very inspiring to live like that. We have a real meaning in life. If you ever want to get really picture what it means, what a disaster it is to have no Krishna consciousness, you can go to some place where old people are, or old people gather, with no really, it's horrible. I remember old age homes, they have old age homes here in Europe. My father died in an old age home, and I visited him. Even he himself said, what's the use of this place? There's nothing going on here. Just some eating, some sleeping. There's no more sex. Sorry. No more sex. Just eating, sleeping, and again, sleeping, eating, and waiting for dying. It's terrible to die like this. Yeah. As a humans, we are supposed to actually have a dignified life. Prabhupada gave us dignified life. He gave us a wonderful way to live. I mean, we have some mission. We have some, we have some goal. We know where we want to go. It's terrible. Most of the people don't even know. They just live mechanically. They just live. Economic development. I met even some people in my life, they were very rich. They were not happy. Not at all. That obvious doesn't make it. It doesn't fulfill our real need. Even our basic needs are not fulfilled in this world. Prabhupada said everybody wants to be loved, wants to love somebody, wants to get something, wants to give something. And all this, we seek protection, in a protected environment. This is basic needs. People strive for these circumstances. But where do you find this in the material world? You understand, all this can change any minute. And still, just by satisfying this body, it's falling apart. It will grow old. Yeah, eating. This, how much you want to eat? It will all fall apart. Even sleeping gets disturbed. All these things people lived for so many years, they are falling apart in front of their eyes. So this is very basic. And this, what should motivate the devotee to give the life actually a real meaning. In the meanwhile, Prabhupada said, no. We are not supposed to be artificial renunciates. We do the needful. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that without working, one cannot maintain even the body and soul together. So some sort of work has to be there. If one is lucky, it will be more Krishna conscious work. If one is not so lucky, one has to do the needful just to stay alive. But not too much, just what is needed. This is the nature of a devotee. Devotees are not very enthusiastic to join the game of becoming famous, becoming rich, becoming influential. For what? This is all going to be changed. And there, it is described also in the shloka, there will be always somebody who is envious. And there will be people who are just envious by seeing us being protected by the Supreme Lord and naturally. So Prabhupada also said something which is maybe not so popular to hear today, but he also said, yes, we need also, we have to do the needful. We need also some physical protection. You know, after all, Kurukshetra was very physical. And not aggressive, but defensive for protection. Prabhupada indicated this is also part of Krishna consciousness. In one lecture, he said, I am accused that I train my disciples just to be the weak mendicants, meditating, weak people who are not able to perform even physically something significant. Prabhupada said, not at all. Not at all. There will be a section of devotees who should be able to be physically active in the way necessary. But all this will not make sense if we don't get the right leadership. Everything depends on the big man where the small man can follow. It is a principle. This is not even, I don't have to mention names or point to somebody, but as a principle, it has to be there. And it will be there always. Even anarchists, they have a leading anarchist, yeah. Atheists have their leading atheist, yeah. Everybody has a leader one way or another. So then the question, of course, is what is the qualification of a leader? And here we have the example, Bhagavatam is full of example of wonderful leaders, Raja Rishis, who can teach us what leadership really means and how people should be led so they become actually happy and satisfied and progress, always progress towards the final goal, going back home, back to Godhead. This is a big subject, but maybe there's some questions or something, somebody, some input.
Well, Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Prabhuji, for speaking with us. Before we continue, on behalf of Hare Krishna Africa, we would like to offer our humblest apologies to your humble self for keeping you waiting. We were having some technical issues, so our apologies to that. Next is sincerest apologies to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. This, as I can believe, I can remember, is the first time we spoke Bhagavatam without first chanting Srila Prabhupada's Jaya Radha Madhava, or the speaker chanting Jaya Radha Madhava, or the audience chanting Jaya Radha Madhava, all starting with the technical challenges we had. So our apologies to Srila Prabhupada also. And I hope you will forgive us. Now, devotees, if anyone may have questions, comments, realizations, you may want to ask or share, please kindly indicate by using the hand emoji or your physical hand, and you'll be asked to unmute to speak or to share your realizations. And Prabhuji, thank you so much for doing this service, come rain or shine. It's very encouraging. My first question to you, Prabhuji, is that I know there is a difference between monarchy and democracy. Nevertheless, they are all government. They are all political. Now, as devotees, we are encouraged to offer advice to the politicians, but we are not very much recommended to become politicians ourselves. Now, in this regard, one of the major reasons, as I understand, how and why we had the battlefield of Kurukshetra is that Lord Krishna wanted to establish his devotee Yudhishthira as the emperor because he was very much qualified. So, if that is the case, what will impede or prevent a devotee trying to become a leader of his or her nation?
Well, you mentioned already there's already an answer in your question. The devotee stays an advisory function. Yeah. Devotees are generally not at all enthusiastic to enter the world of politics, which is based on dualities. Friends, enemies, that's automatically there in a world of politics. Devotees are generally striving for a well-wishing position to see everybody as a part of Krishna. Unfortunately, not everybody shares that vision, so there will be a conflict. It's unavoidable. Actually, Prabhupada said something very, very revolutionary. He said that all the major things which we see happening in the history of mankind were achieved by violence. It's a fact. By violence, not by some peaceful preaching. That doesn't mean we should become violent like this, not at all. We are followers of Lord Chaitanya. We are preaching. That's actually our violence, preaching. We are violent to the atheistic ideas. Still, it may happen, I mentioned it before already, that Krishna will send a specific personality, empowered, who is expert in both fields, in the political field and in the spiritual field. Prabhupada was very open to this. And I just heard a story, just example. Prabhupada was welcomed. There was a delegation of Sikhs, Sikhs in India. This is basically a Kshatriya race, this with the turbans, and, Sikhs. So Prabhupada welcomed them, and they were thinking they will come and discuss with him, because Sikh religion is a mix with all kinds of ideas, including Krishna conscious ideas anyway. So they will discuss with him. And it didn't took few minutes. They were sitting down, Prabhupada said, welcome. Now you can become part of our movement, you will be our police. They were shocked. They came to discuss some philosophy, and he offers them to become police in Hare Krishna movement. They didn't expect it from a holy man, this kind of suggestion. Prabhupada was practical. He said, well, you are police already anyway, so why not do it for Krishna? Yeah. So Prabhupada he said, this is the nature of the world we are living in. We will not be able to avoid it. And Bhagavad Gita is such an amazing example. I just heard a whole series of Prabhupada's lecture on the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Prabhupada goes in detail into the psychological background of why Arjuna doesn't want to fight, and why Krishna tries to convince him that he must fight. And Arjuna's arguments are very relevant, very valid, actually. And, and the shock Arjuna experienced, similarly like Vidura, that the people he grew up with, people who loved him, he loved them, they were now standing on the opposite side of the battlefield ready to kill him. And they were very enthusiastic. He was actually shocked. How they can be so enthusiastic? This is my friends, my teachers, my gurus, whatever they are, but they want to kill me now. But this is the nature of this world. We cannot change it. We can leave it. Prabhupada said the only change you can do, leave it. Go back home, back to Godhead. But don't expect this place being free of conflicts. Peace and love. Well, that sounds wonderful. But where did it happen? I'm coming from a peace and love movement, okay? The 60s, Europe was full of this idea, peace and love and, and all this. But because there was no Krishna consciousness, it all fell apart very quickly, and was replaced by a very brutal and very demoniac systems, which makes people, there are people actually living with us here on this planet. For them, we are just numbers. We are just material. Parasitic people who just, what? I mean, look how we are now broadcasting to, I'm broadcasting to Africa. I mean, what did they do to that continent, Africa was just a place, it was just occupied all the time. It was just used, with nothing, with no dignity being given to these people, because some people think like this. They are still here. They are still living amongst us. For them, we are just numbers. So what you do? So devotees generally prefer to stay in advisory role. Yeah. There are people already, if you think in the terms of Varnashram Dharma, it's already there. Varnashram Dharma is already there, but it cannot be practiced because it's not facilitated. People are not facilitated to work according to the Varna and Ashrama. But it's actually already there. It's such a powerful system arranged by Krishna himself that it's already existing, but it cannot function because people are misused, misguided. They cannot act according to their own, even material nature. What to speak spiritual nature? That's the reason why people are so miserable. They cannot be even materially spoken what they are along their nature of their bodies. Yeah. You go to university. There's a classical place. It's full of miserable people. You know why? Because they shouldn't be there. They should not study. They should work. Most of them. Yeah, they're Shudras. They are not qualified for this. And there's nothing wrong with this. And even amongst devotees, we always think, oh yeah, what do we have to do with that? We are transcendental. This really, are we? Well, then where are all these problems coming from? They come only from a one corner, and that's the bodily consciousness. Because we don't even understand what kind of body we are operating with. And once we understand that, then things get much more easier. That's the problem with Varnashram Dharma society. It requires honesty and serious introspection. One has to really admit, maybe I am not so intellectual. Maybe I am not so, maybe, and it will be proven to us. Once I told my GBC, I was 17 years on Sankirtan and distributing books. And you know what happened? The only realization I have, what kind of Varna I belong to. What is the nature of my body? And he was giving me a big round of applause. And he said, great, wonderful. Most people, they don't know it the whole life. Just cheating themselves. I am this, I am that, designating themselves. And the moment I stopped doing that, my life became very easy. I know how I will respond and act in a particular situation. It's predictable. And I try to change it. Like I said, no, I have to become, Prabhupada wanted that we are Brahmanas, okay? I have to become a Brahmana. When I tried to become a real Brahmana, devotees were laughing at me. They were going, what happened to you? Are you sick? You act like a completely artificial. What is this? And I said, no, I have to become a Brahmana. They said, forget it. Be what you are. And the more and more I actually did that, the more and more my life became very simple. But it doesn't come for free. I have to do that. I have to do a certain, I mean, I don't want to be too autobiographic, but why did I have to get married? After being a brahmachari, after being this. There was a point, it was very heavy for me. I realized when Godbearer showed me, you maybe should get married. I said, no, I don't want to do that. It's complicated. It's full of problems. We know that. You know, until I realized I don't have the choice even to do that. I must do it. Yeah. Because it goes along the Varna. What can you do? And it was not easy. Nothing is easy in this world, really. But it was very educational. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, Prabhuji, thank you. Actually, as you were answering my question, I had another question from the answer you were giving me, and I was wondering whether I should ask or not. And then getting to the latter part, you mentioned something that has motivated me to ask the question, and that is, you rightly said that at some point you were trying to act like a Brahmin. And everybody was wondering, what happened? What is wrong with you? Be yourself. And when you started being yourself, you started becoming happy. So my question is that, yes, we are all trying to be devotees, but we all have our inborn natures. And so somebody's nature is that he could become a leader of his or her country. But being a devotee and always being told that don't do it from outside, how is this person going to be encouraged or motivated to go into government and become a leader? In extension to that is that we see usually when Krishna imparts his knowledge to individuals, he imparts this knowledge to Kshatriyas. He imparted the knowledge to Arjuna. Arjuna is a Kshatriya. He wanted Yudhishthira to rule. Yudhishthira is a Kshatriya. Now, if we are all behaving like Brahmins, then who is going to lead? And that is making me think that probably is the reason why we have all the solutions to being a good leader, but we have leadership crisis in our movement from time to time because everybody is trying to be a Brahmin. Nobody wants to be seen or referred to as a Kshatriya, but these Kshatriyas are also demanded, especially when it comes to administration. So what do we do as devotees?
This is a very, very interesting and very basic point you make there. I was personally present in France, while visiting France. I was personally present when Prabhupada in front of me said, we will not spread this movement without cooperation of Brahmanas and Kshatriyas. This is very practical because Kshatriya will not move anywhere without the control and advice of the Brahmana. On the other side, when Brahmana, let's say he is a real Brahmana, well, I don't want to go more in detail. Some devotees may be unpleasantly touched, but I didn't met really too many real Brahmanas in my lifetime. Sorry. You know, just because you learn some academic thing, it doesn't make you to a Brahmana. There's a whole lifestyle, there's a whole nature to it, which is completely natural for a Brahmana. Now, I got in trouble with Brahmanas too, you know that? Because I wanted to know what to do. And they told me, yes, this is has to be done, this direction is correct. But they didn't give me a real think what to do. So these varnas have to facilitate each other. And they have to be facilitated. And now I will say something maybe which will terminate my broadcast to Africa. I don't know. But this movement is not facilitating much of a Kshatriya. Sorry. I saw many devotees, not many, few, which I identify totally of a Kshatriya nature. They have all one thing in common. They are frustrated. They have all one thing in common. You know why? Because everybody needs a room to act, according to his nature. That's Varnashram Dharma. So the Brahmanas, the real ones I'm talking about, they should seek out a Kshatriya and in cooperative spirit give him a room so he needs to act. It's like Mahabharata. At the end, Krishna says, can you give the Pandavas at least one village each to rule over? They are Kshatriyas, they need some space. And Duryodhana said, I will not give them even enough earth which fits on the tip of a needle. And then Kurukshetra happened. So sometimes the Brahmanas, they are satisfied by collecting knowledge and even broadcasting knowledge, but not in a seemingly applicable way for the Kshatriya type. Kshatriyas need something they can grab on. They can go on, yeah. Okay, what is the course of action? What are we going to do with it? Yeah. Like, I tell you, it happens to me all the time. I open Prabhupada's book, I read for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, and sometimes I have to stop. You know why? Because I think, what are we going to do with it? This has to take a shape. This is so wonderful. It has to take some shape. But by Brahmana, sometimes he's satisfied just with the blueprint, with the academic form. Yeah. And there's not many Brahmanas, and there are not too many Kshatriyas. But if these two team up and facilitate each other, Kshatriya protects the Brahmana so he can teach. No violence on the part of Brahmana. But the Kshatriya is protecting. I could give a very historical evidence from the history of ISKCON how it works. Because Prabhupada was working like this. I will mention this one. This is really a good story. Prabhupada had gave a darshan to a man who seemed to be very interested, but he was very passionate. Devotees let him in. The man sit in front of Prabhupada, and it didn't took long. He started to argue with Prabhupada. And the argument was becoming quite heated. Prabhupada didn't back away from this. He was just sitting. He was sitting in front of Prabhupada in a room. And it became, actually, the man became very, very upset. And he became increasingly aggressive. It was starting getting dangerous. What Prabhupada did, he had Brahmananda sitting next to him. And it was clear Brahmananda was always the one who established order. Yeah, totally. Wherever Brahmananda was there from the very early days he joined this movement. I heard many stories about him. There were some crazy people, some drug-addicted people coming to the temple, whatever. Everybody looked at Brahmananda. And he was a huge guy. He just walked in the door and said, some problem here. And immediately, things became more peaceful. So Brahmananda sitting next to Prabhupada, with this man flipping out. Prabhupada ultimately stopped talking. He looked at the man, he said, you see this man sitting next to me? This big Brahmananda sitting next to him. He said, if I give him an order, he will kill you immediately. That's all what Prabhupada said. And the man looked at Brahmananda, and Brahmananda was in ecstasy. He was already getting up, almost. And the man was quickly departing from the room. He was happy to go home. Nothing happened. Nothing further happened. And Brahmananda, I knew I met Brahmananda several times. All glories to his soul. He left the body already. But but I think he was quite frustrated. Why did that man left, because he was thinking, finally, I have something to do. So this is a story which exemplifies the cooperation between Brahmana and Kshatriya. If we don't do this in this movement, we are always going to be some talking movement. Nice talk, nice thing, nice lecture, nice seminar, but nothing will happen. Or if you leave it to those frustrated Kshatriya type, they will manage on their own according to their nature. And then the more negative side will come out. They become more controlling. Kshatriyas can become like this. So both of them, because they have exactly what the other one doesn't have. So they complement each other. And regarding the Vaishya and Shudra type, this will go on automatically. You don't have to establish Vaishya or Shudra. No. This will go automatically, because look at the society we are living in. It's basically combination of Vaishya and Shudra mentality. I'm not saying this is in this pure form, not at all, but the mentalities are there. It's just Vaishya Shudra, Vaishya Shudra, Vaishya Shudra. And I tell you, I met while preaching even some very, very frustrated karmis who were of a Kshatriya nature. And they were as frustrated as me sometimes. Why cannot we do something? Everybody just talking. But what? For a Kshatriya, this is totally traumatized. He goes, this is wonderful. This is right. Now, I met one God brother who gave me some really interesting observation. He said, Kshatriya and Brahmana are the same, you know that? I was going, what? Completely different lifestyle. Kshatriya is the king and opulence and all this, and Brahmana is a simple man. He said, no, they are absolutely identical in principle. They are principle-minded people. It's just one is legislative. He is giving the, idea, the law, and the other one is executive. But otherwise, they have exactly the same principle. The same idea, the same thing. It's just one is doing, executing, and the other one is guiding, giving the blueprint. If we don't get it, sorry. And people will not take us seriously. They will go, yeah, nice talk, yeah, okay. And then something more will happen. The Vaishya and the Shudra class become prominent. Not very inspiring for Brahmanas and Kshatriyas. Not really. They go, okay, boys, now you make the money. And now it's well established. The money is the honey. Okay? But ultimately, for Kshatriya type and for Brahmana, this is not inspiring. They go, yeah, you make money, but what do you do with it? Basically, just nonsense.
Yeah. Well,
I can go more in detail, but it gets touchy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think you know perfectly well what I'm talking about.
No. You will forever be here. By Guru Krishna's grace, you will forever be here. I'm so happy with my question, and I'm very, very excited with the answer you gave to my question, and I can't thank you enough for being such a practical, exemplary devotee. My Dandavas, thank you so much. It seems we have something from Madhuvan Prabhu. Please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. All glory unto your trustees. Thank you very much for taking your time to speak with us today, and we really appreciate your efforts. Prabhuji, if I heard you properly, you mentioned about Vanashram system, and you said this age or this time that we cannot follow it. So it's not possible. But personally, I think I have a contrary idea. I believe the problem we are having, even in our movement, is because we are not following the system. You know, it's just like you explained, rightfully explained, where we try to imitate because Prabhupada is a Brahmin. We also want to be a Brahmin. So because of that, we did not follow the system from Brahmachari to Grihastha to Vanashrama, then to Sannyas. So, and we are born with different natures. And Krishna creates this variety so that the system can operate. Just like a company, you have the chief executive, you have the gate man, you have the messenger, and the CEO cannot do the work of a messenger. So Krishna has made the variation like that. When I met my Gurudev, I was already a qualified engineer. So the only thing he engaged me is maybe I should donate this, I should do this, because he knows I'm earning some money. But he never told me that I should become a brahmana or something. No. You know, so we make that mistake. And then we have a mentality, we believe that being a Brahmani, we are superior to a Sudra, which is not like that. Somebody who is a special assistant to the president now, is not a small person, even though he's a Sudra, but it's not an ordinary person, and we cannot look down on him. So we have that mentality. If you can apply the Vanashram into our movement, we will grow. You know, first of all, there must be self-discovery. As a person, you have to discover who you are. What is your position in the Vanashram system? You know, am I a grafter? Then, you know, am I a businessman? If I said, am I a soldier? If I'm a soldier, then even I can be a politician. But whatever I'm doing, I do it with Krishna consciousness. So some human beings, they have the nature to be a politician, and you can also be a devotee. Nothing stops you. And you function just like you said, naturally, then you can never be frustrated. But if you don't function according to your nature, you will be frustrated. That's my take. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is all very, very correct, because devotees are afraid. Sometimes I sense the fear that they will be designated into a certain category. They will be designated like to act like this. But this is not how Varnashrama works. It works completely naturally from inside. The nature is already there. You don't go around with a stamp and go, you know, Shudra, you know, Kshatriya, you know, like stamping. No, you just observe. And it takes a little bit time before people realize that where actually are they, where they are most productive, how they function best. So one can experiment sometimes even. You know, we do sometimes, okay, why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? But ultimately, the Varna will surface and he will function best in that direction. Like people are so scared of the designation of Shudra. You know, this is a very honorable place in a Varnashrama Dharma society. One devotee, I didn't read it, but one devotee, I trust him, he gave me a quote from Manu Samhita, I think, that a Shudra who serves faithfully his master for more like 90 years, he should be worshipped like a Brahmana. That's a very honorable thing. And what does Shudra do? He is serving. Well, that's exactly what we are all doing, isn't it? You know, so when you see a devotional Shudra type, devotional Vaishya type, devotional Kshatriya type, and devotional Brahmana type, then suddenly these things become secondary because it's the devotion which is important. That's the impressive part. Otherwise, in itself, the quality of the body can create problem even. Yeah, without Krishna consciousness, it creates a problem. Yeah, Brahmana becomes a speculator, Kshatriya becomes a fascist, Nazi, running around. Vaishya becomes a corrupted businessman, and Shudra becomes a communist. This is what happens when you have no spiritual leadership. So ultimately, it boils down to that, are we devotees or not? But that doesn't exclude the fact that we serve Krishna differently. Yeah, according to the nature of the body. That's the car I got. Yeah. I'm sitting now in my Sankirtan traveling car. It's not a racing car. No. I can go on a highway. I will be frustrated. It doesn't go faster. Because that's the nature of the car. I have to go along with that. The car will be driving as it is designed. So the body will be driving as long as designed. But that's when everybody is devotionally surrendered and, to the task we have ahead, tries to surrender his nature to that, then there will be no discussion even about who is who and whatever. We are all devotees. And simultaneously, we will be rightly situated and work according to our capacity. Well, this is my dream, actually, my whole dream. And it's actually a very dramatical issue. Because I saw devotees really getting in trouble and falling even down, leaving even, because of this. Because of this. They try to be somebody they are not. Why to do this? Why to waste even time with that? Because it's not possible. And you know what they did when they left Krishna consciousness? They act according to their varna anyway. I can give you names and example of even prominent devotees who left. And you know what they did? What their varna dictated them to do. One big man, he left. What did he do in Krishna consciousness? He was known being a very expert businessman. So what do you think he was doing when he left? Business, that's all. Another one, he was a more kind of artistic Shudra type. So what did he do when he left? He went in that direction. So why not just do it for Krishna? This is so pathetic sometimes. It's really sad to see this, how people desperately try to cheat themselves. Yeah. And when you cheat yourself, you will end up cheating others. You pretend, and Prabhupada didn't envision us to become a society of pretenders. I mean, how do you want to preach? And you know what? Thomas will see that. They will recognize it. Oh, big talk. You're a big Brahmana, huh? But you are still a little bit envious, angry, frosty. They will find out. It always amazes me when you preach, when you're on Sankirtan, distributing books. How can these people, they are so covered by Maya, but they can see when I'm in Maya. They can see that. They will expose me. This is the beauty of preaching. You will be exposed. You have to shape up. And again, preaching. It will be done in a various ways. It will have a coloring of... not everybody will attract the same type of people. Yeah. Yeah. Not everybody. Suddenly, you preach to somebody, you have such a good show going. I mean, this is such a good time. Then you realize the man is the same nature like me. Yeah. Why is it that? I could tell you stories from Sankirtan. Unbelievable. It's just, once in Sweden, I knocked on a door. Okay, I was going door to door. The Scandinavia. Anyway. So I was going door to door. The door went open in the evening. A big man standing in the door. He just looked at me. I looked at him, and he tells me, "Come in." I was like, "Oh, okay." Then I went in. He said, "Sit down." I was going, "Okay. What do you want?" And I said, "Well, I have nice books here, it's for very nice people." But I liked him immediately. And he liked me immediately. But I felt more like a police station, not in his home. You know why? Well, he was a policeman. And then he took the books. He liked that. And, and then he started to talk to me about his life in a very personal way, which is for Scandinavian countries exceptional. People are not so opening like that. And he said, I don't work in police anymore. You know that? And you know why? I was an undercover police. We infiltrated the whole mafia here in a city. And we got all these men in jail. And you know what happened? They got a good lawyer, and in no time they were out of the jail again. It took us 3 years to infiltrate that mafia thing, and in 3 weeks they were out of the jail again. He said, I will never work like this. This is a typical Kshatriya talking. He opened the cupboard. He had his police form still hanging there. And he told me, I will never put this on again. So frustrated. I mean, I have things like this all the time. I was recently going on a boat. You have to go on a boat to Sweden. Okay, just 5 hours boat ride. There was a man standing next to me on a boat, and he was going, where is this country going to? This is too much, This is not the same Sweden I grew up with. And he started to talk to me like that. And I'm not even Swedish, I was going, why is he talking to me like that? Well, it didn't took just 5 minutes to find out the man was actually a soldier fighting abroad, yeah. And he was a completely principle-minded person. And he was really upset how even the basic principles of human life are violated, in a country like this. So this is what happens when you have a frustrated Kshatriya. So this is, we should consider that. This is such a I'm really happy that I'm able to talk about this, because this is such an essential point.
Yeah. We're so
those God brothers, those God brothers who helped me most were those who understood my nature.
Yeah.
They just facilitated not just my devotional service. This was my authorities, but they also facilitated my nature. So I had a good time.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Yeah,
thank you. Haribo.
We're so grateful that somehow we could get to know a little bit about these encounters you had, and it's very encouraging. I was very much encouraged about one story you shared with us about this person from Ecuador. Is it from Ecuador? I think you said Ecuador. Who studied?
Yeah, I think so.
Who studied in the UK?
Salvador. I don't know exactly.
Okay, either Ecuador or El Salvador. Okay.
You will find it on YouTube. It's there. It's the speeches there. It's quite amazing. Quite amazing, actually.
Yeah.
I was thinking this must be a devotee talking.
Yeah, so he was able to speak the way he spoke because of his connection with a devotee.
Yeah.
And we see there were quite a few number of people who also came in contact with Srila Prabhupada, that they were very favorable and well-wishers to Srila Prabhupada and his movement. And some devotees were like encouraging Srila Prabhupada to initiate them, make them like formal disciples. And Srila Prabhupada said, no, let them remain where they are. And my own Gurudev, His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, also did the same thing. He had lots of prominent people in society as a mentor to them, but he wasn't like keenly interested in initiating them. So my question in brief is that we see these examples, but sometimes we as struggling and trying to preach devotees think that everybody will have to come and shave his head, put on tilak, and live in the temple before we can consider such a person as a devotee. What should we learn from these examples of, like Sri Prabhupada, His Holiness Bhatira Swami Maharaj, who had encounters with some of great people in society, but did not actually want them to renounce whatever they were doing to become devotees, full-time, full-fledged devotees? What do we learn from that?
This is also a very valuable point. I am coming, of course, I joined 1972 in ISKCON. The preaching was geared towards one point. You renounce, shave up, get initiated, okay? Live in a temple even. That was, can you imagine? Whoever didn't live in a temple was already in Maya anyway. That was actually the preaching. Well, Prabhupada, if you listen already then, from those days, that's not what he said. He is already indicating, no, this is going to be a little bit bigger, like you a small temple here. This is going to be much bigger. And we cannot expect that, that everybody will visit. Our temples are too small for this. We cannot fit so many people even. It's not possible. Even physically spoken, it doesn't make sense. Now, of course, there's another extreme that no, we should all live outside. Temple is not important. Krishna is everywhere. Prabhupada said, yes, Krishna is everywhere, and he's also in the temple. Yeah. Why do you exclude him from the temple? So, so this is extremes. This is fanatism of the highest sort. So, but Prabhupada indicated from the very early days that this is going to be much bigger thing. Like we have an example of George Harrison, okay, famous Beatle musician who was very excited about Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada never offered him initiation. He was never even indicating it's going to happen. Why? Because he knew actually, in one sense, he is not ready for that. He will not be able to live up to this standard, but he's doing great service in another way. Yeah, there are many people like that. So Prabhupada would probably define them as sympathizers. Yeah, they are like, sympathizers. Anyway, this will lead us to the point of initiation. Well, I don't want to go too much in detail of that because I get in trouble. But I don't see anything good coming from a premature, unqualified initiation. Yeah. I saw people getting severely in trouble because of that, because they were not exactly clear what they are doing, and they got initiated for social reasons, Yeah, now I will also have a spiritual name. Great, great, great. But they really didn't understand the consequences of that. And if they would have remain congregational members, supporters, chanting Hare Krishna, yes, we encourage people, just chant Hare Krishna, wonderful, yeah. But I can quote you a letter I just read recently from Prabhupada. It's so beautiful. Prabhupada said, actually, initiation is based on your sincerity and your determination. If you are sincere and determined, you are already initiated. But Prabhupada didn't, of course, doesn't mean that the official initiation is irrelevant. No, Prabhupada writes in the same letter, the official initiation ultimately can be there, but it's actually only concluding your own sincerity and determination you bring. It's based on that quality. On this, especially, he mentions two qualities: determination and sincerity. It's connected. So he said, that's already the initiation. The ultimate act, of being initiated is more or less like reconfirmation that you actually manifested these qualities. So why I mean, now I don't want to really emerge like somebody who makes initiation not so important or not relevant even. Not at all. Prabhupada did initiate. But you know what he said? Maybe I initiated too much. What can you do? He was so merciful. And the push was so immense. You cannot imagine. Even when he was practically leaving his body, still people were pushing. I want to be initiated. You know, pushing. And that alone is not giving us the guarantee such a disciple will be able to sustain the standard. It's not something you push for. It's like the Varnashram Dharma, same thing. It's something that becomes logically manifested. It just becomes like a natural thing. Yeah. And I know devotees who were actually thinking for many years, you know, now actually I'm not really qualified to, and they were, you know what they were thinking? They were thinking, this is the ultimate promise I make here at the point of initiation. I never want to break that promise. So how do I know I don't break it? I have to be 100% sure I don't break it. Then I can get initiated. And they waited for a long time. You know, when they get initiated, this is the best devotees I know. Because they think, okay, I feel now, okay, now I can get initiated. I will never break that promise anymore. And they don't. So initiation for me, when I got initiated, this was the ultimate thing. There was no alternative to it. That was for life, for many life, that was forever. Finished. And if I did something in Krishna consciousness, I never kind of had an idea to go away or do something else. I wouldn't know even what to do. I'm a hopeless kami, you know. I wouldn't know what to do. What shall I do? You know. Because when I was joining, I already was completely, I didn't believe one thing what they are doing. I said, why are they doing this? You know, get the money, get this, get it, you know, blah, blah, blah. I was just, and I'm not alone. Many devotees, the same story. They were just outcast. They couldn't identify themselves with the ideas of the materialistic society. So it became kind of natural thing. You know, and they ask me, so kamis do ask me, you know, people I meet, they ask me, how long you are doing this? And I go, 50, 51, 52 years, something like this. And they're like, really? And you don't want to do anything else? You know what I tell them nowadays? Give me an idea. Give me a good idea. Why should I leave Krishna consciousness? I'm open. I'm not fanatical. Just convince me. Just come on, say something really good. Just give me an idea. What shall I do instead of this? They don't want to talk about it. Usually they just go, oh yeah, okay, bye-bye. And then they leave because they know this is hopeless. This guy is hopeless. You know? But I really would listen. What do you want here? Please, just give me some idea. Why shouldn't I not be doing what I'm doing? They cannot. It's impossible. Prabhupada, it's so amazing. There's no other way. Anyway, I am open. Please, you have my email, whatever, write me, give me an idea. Why should I leave Krishna consciousness? I will definitely pay attention to it. I will read it, but then I will start to ask questions. And I give you idea that you will probably not come up with any answers, not the good answers, not at all. No.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Is it?
Yeah. You reminded me so much of my Gurudev, His Holiness Bhakti Swami Maharaj. He also used to say that if you have something better than Krishna consciousness, just give it to me. I'll be the first person to grab it. Yeah. So, dear devotees, please, if anyone may have something to ask or share, please do that before Prabhuji leaves for the day. He's been here patiently and sharing his love with us all for over 90 minutes. So, if this were a soccer game, it must be over by now. So, Hare Krishna, dear devotees.
Okay.
So, it seems devotees are satisfied. I do not see any hand up. So, with that, we're going to humbly request all the devotees to kindly unmute, and we all chant. Let me see. Somebody has something here. Okay. Prabhuji, one quick question for you in the chat room.
Mm-hmm.
It goes like this. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, Santi, Lotus Feet. Prabhu, concerning the policeman you met on Harinam Sankirtan, who got what, a criminal arrested and only to be released from a prison when he got a very good lawyer. Okay. Can we say the lawyer is condoning and conniving with crime, or we can say he is performing his duty? Yeah, so you had shared that this police officer was saying he was staying underground. And it says, see, we take 3 years to get this person arrested, and within 3 weeks, he's out of jail because he paid good money and he had good lawyers, and they're back on the street. So his question is the lawyer performing his duty, and as such he's free, or he's condoning and conniving with such criminal acts?
There is a this is actually quite a common joke. There is no distinction between lawyer and liar. You know, they are the same. So, you know, commies know that. If they make, this is their profession, is to lie. And to make the lie convincing along, you know, the legal possibilities what they find within the law. The law in itself is not perfect. It can be used and it can be manipulated. They know that. So a smart lawyer, he will know how to bend the law in a way that even it's completely evident that you have a criminal here, he will anyway not be charged much or go free. That happens all the time. So that's a lawyer, of course. He will get the karma. He is facilitating crime. That's what he's doing, and he's doing it consciously. Now you do it in such a way, year after year, you become completely used to it. This is for your lifestyle. You know. I can tell you jokes from the commies, you know, they have jokes about this. You know, when the devil welcomes the sinners to the hell, he goes, oh no, so many lawyers coming, you know. It's Prabhupada gave himself example about lawyers, and they were not very good. He said, I could tell you stories immediately. He said that was actually a very well-known man in his neighborhood. He was very rich, and he had a servant, and he became drunk, angry, and he killed the servant in a rage. So he got in jail because he killed somebody. But because he was rich, he got a very fancy lawyer. And the lawyer was telling him, don't worry, I will get you out of this. No problem. But actually the court case passed, and the man was sentenced to death. And just the day he was supposed to hang him, the lawyer came to him and said, no, don't worry. I will be happy. Be happy, I will get you out of this. And then the man was hanged. Prabhupada rephrased it. He said, this is the philosophy of many people. Be happily hanged. You know, he used it like an example. It's always people, be happy, don't worry, and then you are hanged. But this story also serves to exemplify what a lawyer can do to you. He will try to cheat you to the last sink. So, of course, I have to be just. I give an example of a lawyer we had in Germany. You know the history of German Yatra. On a certain point, we got completely rolled over by the police. Money was confiscated, everything. And it was a huge court case coming up. And it was going for 3 years. Big court case. With the aim to demolish Hare Krishna movement in Germany. This was in the 70s, happened. And out of nowhere came a lady. She said, I'm not Hare Krishna, but I read the newspapers. I know the propaganda. It was devastating. It was just, you cannot imagine. There's no need to mention details, but yeah, I have to say, in a German way, it was well organized to finish us off, just to close down the whole Hare Krishna movement. And then this lawyer, she said, you know what makes me mostly angry? You are just a bunch of young people running around, and you are defined like the biggest terroristic danger after the Second World War. That was the newspapers writing. He said, I am really angry how a bunch of, I mean, you did your mistakes. I understand that. But I mean, just a bunch of young people, and they are so heavy on you. The government, everybody. So she became our lawyer. And she was so good. She was day and night at our service. We could call her anytime. Some trouble with police on the street. We had her visit card. And when we show a visit card of a lawyer to a police, they don't expect that. You know, they were immediately changing the mode of behavior because they knew we have a lawyer. And she was so heavy. It was incredible. I saw her in a courtroom in action. Yeah, she was ferocious. So that lady got a big credit. She did it voluntarily. She did it out of her own accord. And she got a big credit, I think, out of this. For many years, she was defending us. So there are also such examples of people who are actually trying to change something within the law system. You know, they become lawyers already with that motivation, actually. Of course, they don't succeed very much to change, but in our case, she did a great job. You know, so this is just another example. Yeah. But most lawyers, they just make money. That's all. Yeah. They just make money, and if they are good, you know, then they get you out of trouble. And if they are not so good, you are in trouble or whatever, but they lie. It's a lie. It's a lying thing.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Prabhuji. Anadinam, thank you for your beautiful question. And Manidhara Prabhu, thank you so much for the wonderful answer, mixed with vivid, living examples and experiences. So we're back to where we started, that we humbly requesting all the devotees to kindly unmute. We humbly requesting, unmute, and we all chant the melodious, sweetest Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our appreciation to our revered uncle and great uncle, His Grace Manidhara Prabhu, for sharing his love and wisdom with us today, as always. Jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Chakalpatarebyascha, Kripa Sindhudevyacha, all glories to His Grace Manidhara Prabhu ki jai. All glories to the Samud Vaishnava devotees. Hare